So what's going on, guys? CeeGee here today and welcome back to the channel. Now you may be expecting a full-length Fortnite game where I probably either die at the end and don't clutch, or I do actually clutch and in fact win the game and hype about it for like 10 seconds before realising it is only just a game and I am probably an average player at best. But today we are changing things up a bit because not many people are familiar with the new map. A lot of people are still getting to grips with the map. So I thought I would take it upon myself well, regardless of like whether big YouTubers have done this or not, this is the first time I've seen something like this done in this style, because it's a really simple little thing that I'm doing here. And it's basically a map comparison with blue and red rings, which I'll explain in a second, where the changes come in. The blue rings are the minor changes, the things you probably don't have to worry about as much, and the red rings are the major changes. I'm probably well aware that I've missed some out, but you're not going to be seeing a whole lot of me because it's going to be just pictures on the screen most of the time with the rings and whatnot. So let's just get straight into this. And what you're now about to see around now is just a map by map comparison. And obviously you can see that one on the left is a lot higher contrast. I don't think it was like that in the actual game, but I think someone's just cranked it up. And of course, shout out to Eurogamer for the fact that they are the only people on the internet that have a decent quality image of the new map. So now popping up on screen, I'll give you a few seconds to just take this in of the side-by-side comparison. It's quite a lot to take in. Okay, so now on the screen, coming up right about now, will be all of the blue rings. Now you're probably thinking, where are they? I can't really see them. They are quite small, I will give it that. But just keep looking, you'll find them eventually. So we're going to just break these down one by one. Starting at the very, very top of the map, you only have one blue one, just right of Junk Junction, and all that is one of the mini craters. Basically, in these mini craters, you get the special crystals that can make you jump higher, and I think run a little bit faster. I did test these out and see if they made you immune to the storm. I deliberately stood by a crater waiting for the storm to come in, and they do not make you immune to the storm. The only effects I'm aware that they have is the super high jump and the no fall damage. So then if we just go more to the left, just under Haunted Hills, there's two blue rings. We're going to talk about the top one first. The top one is also another crater with the exact same thing, more crystals. And this one is set just in the middle of the big woods by the house, sort of like the offset house where the dance floor was, just left of Pleasant. Just below this, there is a mountain on this blue ring, the second blue ring, just right of Snobby. Now, this is something that not many people are aware of, but this is actually a super villain's lair. Now, if you land on that mountain, you will see a nuclear or some sort of giant missile in the side of the mountain, as well as a huge evil villain's base. This is a secret place they added in. A lot of people have already started to find it, and to be fair, it is quite good for loot. I would probably compare it to the pre-patch prison. That's a little bit of a tongue twister, but before the patch, the prison was a decent place to land. I would compare this to that. There's a fair amount of loot to set you up to push somewhere else and get good loot, but it'll give you a little bit of a head start, I guess you could say. So that's quite cool. I would definitely recommend checking that out. Now, moving down to the bottom of the map, we're going to go to the bottom one, far left, just top right of Flush. Now, these are the new set of factories, and in the new set of factories, it's quite widely regarded that this is one of the best places for loot. Now, don't worry about this change because they haven't actually changed how much loot you get. All they've changed is the building where the containers were, where the warehouse was. You had 5 buildings, 2 on the left, 2 on the right, and 1 at the top. They have changed the one at the top, so it is now instead a nightclub. There's the same amount of chests that spawn, the same amount of loot that spawns. They've just changed the cosmetics of it, so don't worry about that. It's still a sick place to land, I can assure you. I've been there quite a lot since the update. Now, moving on to the next one, just left of Fatal Fields. This is just another crater. There's not much to talk about here. Yeah, it's just another crater with the crystals. Moving to the right again, just above Moisty Mire, or just on the edge of Moisty Mire, is the prison. Now, I hummed and I hawed about putting this in as a major change, because prison to me was always a very good place to land. You've quite often seen videos of me, Dylan, and Jack landing at prison and Moisty, and I love the prison. I think it was an amazing place to land. But now the crater is in the middle of prison and the meteors hit it, half of the buildings are gone. So it's not really a viable place to land anymore, which is why I thought it was a major change. But I put it as a minor because I know that some people aren't as passionate about the prison as I am. But yeah, the major change there, or minor change there, is the fact that the prison is essentially no longer that good for loot. The best place to go is Moisty just below, but we'll get to that in just a second. Now moving on to the final blue ring, just below Lonely Lodge, right of retail, whatever you want to say, is the final crater. I don't know if this is the last one. I've looked and I can't find any more, but this is the final crater. Just more crystals. There's quite a few chests in here actually. It's quite a decent little place to land if you want to just get set up and push retail or lonely or something like that. So they are the blue rings. They are the minor changes. There are 4 craters, 1 crater in the middle of the prison, and 2 actual map changes. So, onto the major stuff. Coming up on screen right now will be 5 big old red circles. Now, these red circles are the major changes. First of all, we'll start off down in Moisty, considering I mentioned that a second ago. All they've done here is basically made Moisty a more viable option to land, because you have things in each corner of the map which are decent to land. Junk is okay, Risky is now added, which we'll also get to in a second. Flush has always been a favourite of mine, but Moisty was always like the dark horse that you might land at and get good loot, you might not land at. It just depended on where you were at. And now they've completely made it so it's a completely viable option. There's a giant movie set, lots of little wooden structures, lots of chests and gun spawns, as well as the rest of the swamp to also go and search, like the big tree that has like 3 chests around it. It's still a viable place to land, and I only think this has bolstered that as a good place to land, so that is quite a cool one. Moving just up and right a little bit, just below Lonely Lodge. I didn't know if I was going to make this a major or a minor. I think it's a manger, like a fucking crib. But I wasn't sure if I was going to make this a major or a minor, like the prison, purely because of the fact that this doesn't actually change the map as much. It just makes somewhere more of a viable option to land. Lonely Lodge for me is now cemented in like the top 10 places to land, purely because of the fact that Lonely Lodge already was half decent for loot. It was a big place to search, it was quite a pain in the ass, but you'd always walk out of there with a half decent loadout. Put in the mansion, which is now been added just to the bottom of it, and all of the loot that that brings as well. I think Lonely is now a solid place to drop, especially if you're duos or squads, because now there's going to be even more loot to pick up between you and your sort of friends and whatnot. So I think this is a major change, something that Lonely has needed for a very long time, and I think it's a great addition. So now we're going to move over to Tilted first before we get to the 2 biggest things. Now, there was a lot of talk that obviously Tilted was going to get destroyed, and it didn't. A little bit of it did, which is the major change. One of the buildings in Tilted has been completely leveled. I personally thought it wasn't enough. I think it should have had 2 or 3 buildings destroyed, made it more like a Pleasant Park, Salty Springs-esque kind of landing place. So it's still a very good place to land. You still got loads of good loot. The high risk, high reward sort of mentality goes with it. But yeah, one of the buildings has been destroyed in Tilted, which I thought was major because of the fact it is Tilted Towers. It is sort of like the centerpiece of the map. It's huge. So that's obviously quite a major thing. One of the, I don't know which one it is. I think it's the blue building that used to be there. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, but one of the buildings has definitely gone. So moving on to the top right before we get to the grand finale is Risky Reels. Risky Reels is a fantastic addition in my opinion. Wailing Woods was never enough to just cover the top right of the map, and Risky Reels has completely taken the thunder there. It's not got many loot spawns, it's not got many chests, but it's a perfect place if you are a starter at the game. Obviously, give it a couple of weeks because a lot of people are landing there because it is new. But if you give it a few weeks, I'm sure there'll be no doubt that you'll be able to get some good starts there. Push your way down into Tomato, push your way down after that into Dusty Divot. It's a lot of cool stuff going on up there. It's kind of added something fresh to quite a boring part of the map. The top right was always very open, just a couple of houses here and there. So it's something that very definitely needed. Now moving on to our grand finale, we have Dusty Divot. And a lot of you may realise, or may not realise, is that Dusty Divot hasn't only replaced Dusty Depot, but it's also replaced the factories. Factories, for me, was one of the top 5 places to land. It was fantastic. It was just north of Salty, just left of retail, and it was a really good place. 3 little factories, filled with loot, filled with chests. A really nice place to land. But the crater, at the bottom right of the crater where it sort of spawns off that little pointy bit, that's where the prison, not the prison, the factories used to be. Now, Dusty Divot, obviously you're thinking, what actually does it consist of? If you look at the top of Dusty Divot, you can still see 2 of the hangars from Dusty Depot. So half of Dusty is still there. But Dusty Divot is more of like a scientific lab, sort of site, I guess you could say, surrounding the giant meteor that crashed into the map. There's loads of the crystals from the other minor craters across the map, and that's pretty much it. There's a few guns there that you can get. It's not that great for loot, if I'm dead honest. I don't really like it as much as I like landing somewhere like Flush or even Prison, for example, or Lucky Landing. I still think they're going to be better for loot. I think it's probably not in the top 10 for loot. It's not that great. I think a lot of people are only landing there because it is new at the moment, but it is quite a major map change. The Epic Games have said they wanted to change the middle of the map for a very, very long time, and what better way to do it than to literally just blow half of the fucking thing up? So Dusty Divot has essentially destroyed Dusty, or half of Dusty, replaced the factories, and in the middle of the crater is the Dusty Divot surrounding the meteor and all the little lab experiments. I can't actually say like I'm not that familiar with the loot. Purely because of the fact that I haven't landed there much. It's been so hectic, I just haven't really bothered to land there because I know that I'm not going to get much out of it. All I'm going to get is probably a low KD game and absolutely get knobbed straight away. So I just sort of leave that for the time being. But now the pictures are going to be coming off the screen and you are going to see me again. That is my full map breakdown. That is everything you guys need to know. If you would like some gameplay on all of these specific places, be sure to let me know in the comments below because I would love to do another video or a follow-up video to this for you guys. But that has been my full map breakdown. I hope you have enjoyed. If it has been helpful, remember to smash the thumbs up button because it would mean the world to me and it would really, really help out. If you could share this as well for your Fortnite buddies that also are unfamiliar with the map, that would be a huge help to the channel as well. And obviously, if you haven't already, if you are new around here, please remember to subscribe because it would help me out again so much. But until next time, guys, I've been your boy CeeGee. This has been your map breakdown, and I'll see you guys soon with a brand to make a new video. Goodbye.